What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Now, welcome to what is likely to be the last SK Wealth Academy podcast of 2020. And the topic today is use the adversity of 2020 to remove self-imposed limitations and beliefs of what is possible. Now, before I get into this particular podcast, I want to thank all of you that have stuck with me for this year. As most of you know, I'm sick of YouTube. I'm sick of their censorship. So I'm probably going to move to the K.im platform next year. So please do look me up next year on K.im, koala.indigo Mary. And it's just like a platform like YouTube, just alternative social media platform that actually has some morality and ethics about them. So I'm going to switch to them. Hopefully start uploading videos next year. Probably this last one for 2020 will be the first one that I'll upload on the K.im platform. And also, please do bookmark my new site, because although this is the last podcast most likely for the year 2020, I'm going to post some more articles on my website before the end of this year. My website, you can also find it in the show notes below, is malamalama.com/WordPress. And if you go over to my website, please also do sign up for my newsletter. It's absolutely free. It will keep you apprised of the situation with the imminent release, hopefully in 2021, of my 22 plus course online SK Wealth Academy. So let's get started. Now, we all live in an upside down world. Now, some of you may not know what that means, but it's been obvious to me for the entirety of my life, we live in an upside down world. And so right has become wrong, wrong has become right. People with zero medical background and expertise like Bill Gates has been appointed by the ruling class as the medical czar for the entire world and orders us to stay put and not to travel. I'm sure he's traveling on his private jet wherever he wants to go. Men and women not even qualified to be parents to their children, let alone to make mandates for entire cities and nations, are the political leaders of such municipalities, provinces, and nations worldwide. The ruling class has mandated that those things that are moral are unlawful, and those things that are immoral, like child sex trafficking, are lawful, right? Because we haven't seen anything happen to Ghislaine Maxwell or Sarah Kellen or whatever her name is. The media doesn't even cover, so it just goes in and out of our minds. And you know, this stuff has been going on for decades. Just look up the Westminster dossier. The whole bunch of UK Parliament members are a bunch of little pedos as well. So you know, this stuff has been going on forever. We live in an upside down world. It's crystal clear to me. I hope it's crystal clear to you. Now, we live in an unstable world that will become more unstable over the next 5 to 10 years. Economic lockdowns that we have suffered this year will probably be followed by some other kind of control mechanism, whether it's rapid movement to 100% digital currency, whether it's electrical grid brownouts, or perhaps even full-blown blackouts, which have been going on for years. They're kind of priming us on this predictive programming of what's going to happen. I wrote a lengthy article last year, if you want to see what the ruling class has planned for us, called something like the greatest threat to global instability that nobody's talking about. And I wrote about the threat of zero-day exploits and how they can shut down electrical grids for entire coastlines of nations or even entire nations. And that has existed for years. That's been sitting on the World Wide Web for years in various nations. And there's a threat of a zero-day exploit called Nitro Zeus. So if you're interested in that, or even the slightest bit curious, just go read my article. It's on my blog at malamalama.com/WordPress. Now, we are resilient creatures. Human beings have a tremendous amount of resiliency to get through periods of extreme difficulty, struggle, misery, you know, just working our way out of the mud. And before I get to that, though, I want to really briefly talk about a film I just watched, because it ties into the topic of this particular podcast, called The Hidden Life. And I hope that all of you stay for and listen to the entirety of this podcast, because I did save the best for last. I think this is one of the last podcast, or perhaps the penultimate, but I do think it will be the last for 2020. It is also one of the very most important podcasts I've released this entire year. Now, The Hidden Life was a movie directed by Terrence Malick, and it covered that period of World War II in which, and it covered particularly the journey of this Austrian farming family that was self-sufficient, self-reliant, just had their farm in the mountains, and were eating off of the fruits of their labor, and had a herd of livestock, and were minding their own business. But then World War II happened, and I think it was based upon a true story. I think this movie was based upon a true person. And the Austrians, of course, all Austrians were required to pledge their loyalty to Hitler. But this person had a spine and wasn't just going to go with the flow to get by, as most people have done with this economic lockdown throughout the world. And he refused to donate money to the Third Reich to support Hitler's cause. And even when he sought the advice of the church in Austria, the church deacons or elders or whatever you want to call them in the movie, and I'm sure this was part of the historical record as well, where certain members of the church would say, hey, just go along to get along. Why bring this unwarranted attention upon your family, these unwarranted troubles? Just give your money to the soldiers. Just pledge your loyalty to Hitler. Don't make life difficult for you, your family, your children. But this man was like, no, I'm not going to be a coward. I'm not just going to go along because this is what everyone else is doing. I'm not going to go along because the message is, hey, you need to do this for the welfare of your fellow man and your fellow woman, and you need to do this for the national pride of our country. No, I'm going to be a warrior and actually live by my moral framework and do what I believe is right. And I'm not going to be a coward. I don't care that elders in an authoritative position, institution like the church, are telling me to be a coward. I am going to be a warrior. And I think there is a tremendous amount of goodwill to be drawn from such a stance in life, because so many people are unwilling to take a stance that really throws them in what I call the deep end of the pool, right? When you don't know how to swim. It's going to put you in a tremendous amount of discomfort. And as I said, though, we are more resilient than we know. It's just that most of us have never tested ourselves. We don't know where our limitations are. So that's why I said, use the adversity of this year to remove your self-imposed restrictions on the beliefs of what your achievement can be in life, how much you can accomplish in life. Because I guarantee you, the majority of society, when I look around, is only achieving a fraction of their potential. The majority of people in society are not even tapping in to the average amount of potential that lies within them. Now, I recall when I first started training in martial arts, I started training like very late. I didn't start training when I was 8, 9, 12. I started training in my very early, I think right after I graduated from college, so maybe age 20 or so. And I only weighed 71.8 kilograms. And my sensei would put us through this strength conditioning and training either before class or after class. And I recall a time, it was maybe a month into our strength training, and he threw 143 kilograms onto the bench press, and he told me to do it. And at that time, it wasn't going to kill me, but I could press 102 kilograms about 20 times. I looked at that and said, come on, that's impossible. You know what his response to me was? Shut up, just do it. And of course, he knew that I couldn't press that amount yet, but he merely was erasing the self-imposed limitations I had already placed upon myself. I was already boxing myself in about what I could achieve physically. So, I didn't know that yet, but I understood later that's exactly what he was doing. So he gripped the bar, he helped me raise the weight off of the supports on the bench press, and then he followed me all the way down and probably did 30 to 40% of the lifting on just the single rep up. And after about 2 months, I remember I was able to press that amount out on my own. And my sensei just kind of looked at me when I finally was able to put up that weight, which is about twice my body weight on my own, almost like, I told you you could do it. He's like, just most people, we put limitations on ourselves and that prevent us from really reaching our potential. So I remember also he used to subject us to these isometric strength training exercises where we'd have to get into horse stance. If you don't know what that is, you can just look it up. And then someone else would have to jump on our back and we'd have to hold them in horse stance in a static position. Now, for any of you yoga practitioners out there, well, if you've been doing it for a while, then maybe holding a static position for a long time has become easy to you. But if you can recall when you first started out, how difficult that was. Now we're holding a static position and with a lot of weight on us. So if I were 72 kilograms and, he tried to match us up, have someone with like 72 to 75 kilograms, and I would hold that person. Or sometimes, because this was an exercise, we would hold that person and for about 90 seconds. I think when we first started out, it was only about 60 seconds, but then he increased the time to about 90 seconds. And even at 60 seconds, I remember my legs were shaking, and he would just look at all of us and say, "Don't you drop that person. If you drop that person," he's like, this strength training exercise is going to be extended by another 5 minutes. So don't you drop that person. And like nobody wanted to keep going longer than absolutely necessary. So we're all here just shaking until he finally said, "Okay, drop." And we let the person down. But then we have 1 minute recovery. And then it was wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. And maybe it was only like for 15 minutes. We go 15 minutes with a 1 minute rest period in between. So I don't know, maybe that's like 7 or 8 times we'd go at this, or maybe six or 7 times. It wasn't even that much. And I remember like everybody was just complaining, like, "This is torturous. What are you doing to us? I don't want to be a SEAL." I mean, because like my sensei had engaged in some martial arts training for like Navy SEALs. So he put us through the regular iterations of physical training, of PT sessions and stuff. And, I recall almost like after a year, when I first started out, I thought it was torturous. But after a year, I thought, hey, this is really difficult, but it's not torturous like it was at the very beginning. So I realized, because as we became physically stronger, obviously these exercises, if you do it for an entire year, are going to make you stronger. But he would also adjust the weight as you became stronger. So, if I could do this with a 74 or 5 kilo person on my back, then he would ramp it up. Okay, I'm going to throw an 80 kilo person on your back and keep doing this. So I don't think it became easier because our strength, increased, because he would adjust, the weight we would have to carry during these isometric sessions to our increased strength. I really believe it's because my mind became hardened, and that, it was all just a matter of embracing a mind over matter attitude. Because when we started complaining, I remember the first day, he was like, "This is nothing." He's like, "I'm only putting you through 15 minutes of this." He's like, "When I trained, I had to do hours of this, and I couldn't even feel my body." After a while, it was just like our spirits were holding the weight up on our back. It was just our spirits. So he was telling us that we were all so mentally weak, and his job was to make us mentally strong. Now, this past year, right now, as of December 21st, the recording of this last podcast for the year 2020, it's now been almost an entire year that I've been stuck outside of my home, because I traveled outside my home, was planning to fly back in March. My flight was canceled and haven't been able to fly back since. So I've had to live like an ascetic monk for almost this entire year to survive, because I had financial duties and responsibilities in my hometown that still has not alleviated at all. So I had that to take care of, even though I'm not there at all. Then I have financial responsibilities here, because of course I have to pay for rent, I have to pay for food during this unexpected entire year-long stay. And I've not eaten out at a restaurant one single time. I've been locked down since the travel lockdown started, and I've been stuck for almost an entire year here. So I know this hasn't been a year of adversity just for me. I know it's been a year of adversity for everyone, unless of course you're a billionaire. So if you're a billionaire, then your entropy has basically dissolved and life has become much more easy for you. But the reason even I'm wearing a beanie indoors right now as I'm recording this is because it's cold, and I have no cold weather clothes, because I wasn't planning to be where I'm at when the weather turned really cold. But I'm really really adverse to buying more because money's so tight. All the money, in fact, that I set aside for my SK Wealth Academy launch in March, which I still haven't been able to launch, is now all gone. That's all been destroyed by these politicians that locked us down for an entire year. And I'm really averse to buying more clothes, warm weather clothes, because I have more warm weather clothes than I need back at home. I just don't have access to it. So why buy stuff that I don't need once I'm able to extricate myself and exfil myself from this situation? So I figure maybe I have one more month. I'm not like freezing. It's just a little bit uncomfortable, so I can put up with another month of discomfort just to make it through this time. So this is a time I feel we all have to put up with various measures of discomfort to get by. So that's why I say we need to learn from this period, this entire year of discomfort, this entire year of struggle, this entire year of adversity, to push our boundaries, to understand what limitations we've imposed upon ourselves. And I even go out running like this. I don't even have like long sweatpants or long jogging pants. So I go out and run in shorts. I run in short sleeve shirt and I just throw a beanie on. And the thing is, yeah, I'm cold. But once I start running, after the first 15 minutes or so, I start getting warmer, and it's not so cold where I'm gonna be hypothermic. So, it doesn't matter to me that I'm uncomfortable when I'm running. I'm not going to get hypothermia. So, am I angry at the ruling class for the situation I've endured this year? Sure, put me in an octagon with them all. I'll give them a weapon and let's go to town, right? Let's go mano a mano. I'll be happy to do that. But do I regret the adversity I've faced this year? Have I become helpless? Have I rolled up in a fetal position to do so? Hell no. I've even embraced it, and I've seen plenty of others embrace it too. And that is a correct response, to embrace this adversity, to push our boundaries and really learn, what am I all about? Am I the person that's going to get through this period of adversity? Or am I just going to throw my hands up and just roll up into a bowl and just give up? So in fact, I saw this clip right on the news about a flight attendant that worked for Singapore Airlines. And in order to make ends meet, he started a new business, because even though he was loyal to them for 8 years, they showed no loyalty to him when their revenue started plummeting because of the travel lockdowns. They just fired his butt and said, good riddance. And so again, to make ends meet, he started an entirely new business of baked goods. I can't remember what it was. It was like a special kind of like cake, special kind of like burnt cheesecake or something like that was becoming real popular, because in Asia there's always these trends. First it was like egg tarts, and that was like Portuguese egg tarts, and there was something else, and it was like Krispy Kreme, because it took a while for Krispy Kreme to get here. There's always some kind of trend. So in other words, though he learned an entirely new set of skills, multiple new sets of skills, like online marketing. He learned how to obviously become a chef and make these baked goods, and he was actually starting to gain some traction. But it was less than like 6 months, I think. And then finally, some of the his resumes that he had sent out started to get responses. And in the clip that I watched about his story of how he overcame this year, Airbnb called him to come in and gave him a job for online marketing. But I was really, really disappointed to hear that he went back to the corporate world, because his rationalization for returning to the corporate world, even though he had started his own business, realized that he could do all these things he never knew he could do before, was that the income was unreliable from his newly started entrepreneurial baking business. So he didn't want to subject himself to this income instability and inconsistent revenue stream. But he was not even 6 months into his business. So I don't think that really has anything to do with these economic lockdowns, because number one, he lives in Singapore, which is an extremely wealthy nation. And there's a lot of corruption responsible for that nation, but a lot of people have a lot of expendable income because of that high level of corruption that exists. I don't know why Singapore always gets ranked as one of the best, most non-corrupt nations in the world. That's not true at all. I've been living in Asia for 15 years. Trust me, That's perception again. It is not true. But he wasn't even 6 months into his business and then he just gave up, which I was seriously disappointed to see that, because he was well on his way, I believe, to becoming self-sufficient and not being reliant or dependent upon anyone else for survival had he merely stuck to it. Now, I see YouTubers consistently gathering $1,000 in donations for just a 2 to 3 hour live stream where they're talking about pop culture, or this celebrity is dating this celebrity, or just nonsense. Really, it's nothing that's going to improve anyone's quality of life. But some people, to each his own, to each her own. Some people love to listen to that kind of gossip, and they'll get like $1,000 of donations live streaming on YouTube, and they're really not helping anyone's quality of life become better. But this guy definitely should have kept going, because instead of giving up what he, his continual journey of self-reliance and independence for perceived security. I say perceived security because he of all people should know he gave 8 months of his life to a company that as soon as revenue started going down, just let him go. So there's no such thing as security, even at a corporate job. Maybe these lockdowns, the ruling class are probably going to roll out all these lockdowns again to some severity next year. Airbnb could lay him off, and then he just have to go back, start from scratch to square one. Whereas if he just kept going with his business, I really believe he could have built it into something special. But that's the thing. Most of us hate uncertainty and discomfort. No, we must take advantage of this year of adversity to embrace it, if we are not only to survive, but to thrive in a world which we all know evil predominates in this world over good. So we need to be far more comfortable with states of uncertainty and discomfort to keep pushing our boundaries further and further and further out, and keep building up our knowledge and beliefs of what we are capable of achieving. Because the world is built, even in a scientific sense, around entropy. So for those of you that don't know what entropy is, it's a measure of the randomness or disorder of a system. However, according to the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy of a system can only decrease if the entropy of another system increases, and vice versa. So we all know that our entropy, our disorder, our chaos, our struggle, has been increasing for all of 2020, correct? So that must mean the entropy for another system has been highly decreasing. Who has other system? The 0.1% of the wealthiest in the entire world, the billionaire class, right? Because we all know, for example, in America, right? They say the billionaires in America alone, they said have increased their wealth by $1 trillion already this year. So think about all the billionaires cumulatively around the world. They've increased their wealth by several $1 trillion. So how have they done that? Well, it's complete logic. Well, if you're going to shut down millions of businesses, you're going to cause them to fail and go bankrupt. Someone else has to get that business. In swoops Amazon, in swoops Walmart. So that's why all these billionaires are always, fear mongering about the threat of this virus and trying to shut everyone else down because they benefit from it. And this is only, again, that $1 trillion increase of wealth. That's decreased entropy for them, increased entropy for us. And the billionaires around the world are priming us for a much worse standard of living. They're saying, get used to this worse standard of living. But I say, no, fight back. Use adversity and turn it into something positive for you. Because that World Economic Forum, right, the founder, Klaus Schwab, they're pushing on their website right now the need for more and more people around the world to accept consumption of insects for protein in coming years. Because they say, food's going to become scarce, so you better get used to the idea of consuming insects for protein. Of course, it's nothing they would ever advocate for themselves, but only for everyone else. The same as they cancel Thanksgiving celebrations, like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Then he's photographed having Thanksgiving with like 26 other friends in a confined space, nobody wearing face masks, nobody social distancing. So that's how you know. I mean, I think you almost have to be like so unintellectual to not understand what is really going on in the world right now, because we know this disorder will not stop, but will only be ramped up. in 2021. So we must push our boundaries as much as possible to redefine our capabilities. So even though my plan, like I said, was to launch my 22 plus course online SK Wealth Academy this past April, that's been postponed indefinitely, but come hell or high water, I'm going to find a way to release it next year in 2021. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. So that's going to happen. And because all the travel lockdown, even though the travel lockdowns in my situation destroyed all the finances I'd set aside for the execution of that launch, I'm still going to find a way. But I'm grateful for the struggle. I'm not going to let this struggle get me down, because it's taught, you know what it's taught me? It taught me I could create a revenue stream under emergency conditions, literally out of nothing. Because that was my whole revenue stream I was counting on, was the release and launch of that business, which was indefinitely, and once I was stuck since March, I had to create an entirely new revenue stream out of nothing. And the only way to do that is to jump in the deep end of the pool without knowing how to swim, or to be shoved into the deep end of the pool. So those of us, a lot of us were shoved this year into the deep end of the pool by the ruling class, but those that haven't, guess what? You're going to be joining us in the deep end of that pool, because the ruling class is going to shove you in the deep end of that pool. So because it's so transparent, like I said, they're telling us crystal clear in plain sight what they're going to do, that there's only basically two options, two solutions to this problem. One is like what I'm advocating, is take advantage of this adversity to become stronger in your mind, to become more disciplined, to get more internal resolve, to build up your spine and backbone, to have courage and to be courageous amongst courageous people, to be exceptional amongst exceptional people. So don't be so quick to crawl back to comfort. That's why I was so disappointed when I heard the end result with that Singapore flight attendant that crawled back to comfort, because you will never find out who you are unless you stay in that lane of discomfort and tread even further out into deeper waters of discomfort. Now, given my analogy of jumping or being shoved into this, like I said, I firmly believe next year the ruling class is going to shove a whole heck of a lot of people that haven't yet been shoved into that deep end, So like I said, there's only two choices, right, to stay out of that deep end. One is really either to unite in violent revolution. Now, I'm not advocate of violent revolution, because I think violence only begets violence. So it's not the solution. But all over the world right now, right, we're seeing peaceful revolutions. For the most part, we see some sporadic outbreaks of violence in these peaceful revolutions, but we see millions of people aggregately protesting the oppression of the state in Lebanon and France and Algeria, Greece and Colombia and Thailand, just to name a few. And however, what has history taught us, right? History has always taught us when these peaceful revolutions gain enough traction in numbers and momentum, that the state will always intervene to crush those peaceful revolutions with violence. And then the only response will be, are there people going to just give up and go home, or are they going to respond to violence with violence? So I know very few people that are willing to basically pledge their life to these revolutions. Why do I say that? Because already I can see that many people, like the Singapore flight attendant, do not want to be even in 6 months of discomfort. The first chance they have to get out of this discomfort, they're going to go. So who out of that group is really going to pledge their life to a cause even as noble as restoring our freedoms and liberties? Who amongst us, right? So the other solution, like that one that I'm advocating, is, and the only means, because none of us just want survival. Survival is ridiculous. We're not put on planet Earth by a higher creator just to survive. We're put on this to find out what our potential is and to thrive. So the only way that's possible to thrive is to really embrace this adversity, to learn things we did not know about ourselves, but then to keep going, to keep moving and swimming further and further out into deeper waters, and to keep testing and pushing our boundaries of our limitations further and further out. So I hope people can see this message for what it is, because I truly don't think this is a negative message at all. I see it as a completely positive message. It's a way to take something negative and transform it into something positive. So I just want to encourage everyone to keep building upon all the lessons that taught you something this year when you faced adversity. Keep banging up against those obstacles. Keep crushing them. Keep climbing over them. Jump over them. Knock them down. Do whatever is necessary to get through those obstacles and honor the true nature of your character that you have discovered this year, because this is truly the best way, in my opinion, for all of us to give ourselves the best chance of thriving over the next 5 to 10 years. Because how many times have we already heard the ruling class, the Bill Gates, the Klaus Schwabs, the people that go meet in Davos, Switzerland every year to plan what's going to happen in the global economy? How many times have we already heard them say we're never going to go back, our lives are never going to go back to normal again? So we can't plan on that. We got to plan to really to battle right now. And the most important thing is the mental battle, to toughen our minds and prepare for battle. So if anything from this year, please take away positivity from what I've gone through this year. I'm sure all of you have gone through what I've gone through to some extent as well. And I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, have a very happy Hanukkah, have a very happy holiday season. And if you enjoy my content, you can come join my community, because I have a whole wealth of other exclusive benefits I provide to my patrons. And it's a very small community, just of about 120 people, but it's a great loyal community, and I hope to be able to connect everyone that's a patron when I launch my SK Wealth Academy in the future, in the coming years. I hope to be able to go on some type of social media platform where people can communicate, because I have met a bunch of really awesome people. And so if you want, just go look at the link below to discover at patreon.com/SK Wealth Academy. Now here's the interesting thing, because I thought my GoFundMe campaign, I launched a GoFundMe campaign, which is at gofundme.com/F for fight, SK/SK Wealth Academy. And I'll put the link to that below. And I think it's still open. I actually thought it ended about a month ago. So I don't know if GoFundMe, because of these states of economic lockdowns, automatically extended our campaigns for another 3 to 6 months, or what's going on, because it's very hard for me to check on what's going on right now, because I'm running this from the United States. Actually, one of my relatives is running it from the United States, but I can't really log into my account from a Western country. And so for some reason, even VPNs don't work. And I can't log in to my own account. Only my relative can. And sure, I can, talk to him. Hey, what's going on with this? But he's very old, so he's not very tech savvy. So, obviously I don't want to seem like I'm an ingrate to the 19 wonderful, beautiful people that already contributed to my GoFundMe campaign. So thank you so much. I just haven't been able to log in to send everyone a personal note of gratitude, but certainly gratitude for your support, because I think if we stick together, like I said, there's a whole bunch of positivity we can extract from our adversity this year. And I hope to be kind of the, what do they call it? Like the alloy that can amalgamate us all and make us stronger, so we can fight back against the evil that's going on in this world. So thanks so much for watching until the end. Don't forget also, please do go sign up if you're not signed up for my podcast on podbean.com/SK Wealth Academy. Please do rate it, because that helps my podcast a tremendous amount. This podcast actually came back and I recorded 3 times. The first 2 times, for some reason, the video didn't record. So that's why this audio might be slightly different from the audio uploaded on podbean.com. So I spent 90 minutes at 4 in the morning to record this for you, a 30-minute podcast. So please be so kind to just help me out a little bit on my podcast. Go sign up. If you already subscribed or not subscribed, please subscribe. And please do, I don't care if you subscribe to this, because I'm going off of YouTube, but please do check out my website, my new site, amalamala.com. Bookmark it, visit it, sign up for my free newsletter there. And also, please do come back at k.im next year and follow my channel, my video podcast channel at k.im with the same tag, SK Wealth Academy. So thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful, warm holiday season. Get together with your friends. Screw these ruling class people that are telling us you have to cancel Christmas, you have to cancel Hanukkah, you have to cancel your holidays. Enjoy. Look, we're social creatures. Without social, without socializing with one another, we're going to go mentally insane. And they know that. So that's why they're doing this to us. So enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy your holiday season, everyone. Have a beautiful holiday season. I will see you in the new year. Always remain intensely curious and remain immensely courageous. So long.